All right, you guys, welcome back to the Jester Wallis Productions YouTube channel and an evening on the Beyond the Trail podcast. Austin, it's not only Beyond the Trail, but I am beyond excited. How about you?
Yeah, I honestly, the thing I'm getting the most out of tonight is the fact that I finally don't have to catch myself every time we say the title of our project that we got going on. We're finally going to announce it tonight.
Well, you know, I have been, honestly, I woke up at 3 a.m. I'm not kidding. This morning,
Gross.
I was like pumped. And I started putting stuff out on Instagram and Facebook at before 6 this morning. Of course, I leave for work about 6:15. And I have had butterflies in my stomach like all day about our guest and who is going to be on here. And it's like I was a kid waiting for the grandest present like all day long. My heart's been pumping. But before we get to who is going to be our guest, I got to call you out, Austin.
Uh-oh.
I know. So you guys remember...
It's not the first time.
So you guys remember last episode, I showed you guys something. I showed you guys these Durston poles. And you guys, Austin could not stand it. He ordered them that night. Look. They're... we're
gearheads.
I know.
We're gearheads. We can't
and you
help
did
ourselves.
this to me, Austin. I swear.
Oh, don't you put that
I know,
on
you
me.
guys. I'm not kidding. I am not even going to use these. I don't think.
Oh, I'm definitely using them. I already know exactly where they're going to get used, and they're going to get used with my X-Med. So I think that's the most appropriate, at least. But,
well, excellent. So I wanted to set the record straight that you had no idea that these were even on sale, and I had my pair first. So I'm just setting it straight.
Well, and the other driving force behind me making that purchase so quickly is because I know how the Durston gearheads work, and it's not a cult, but let's just say if something gets out there and then all of a sudden they get sucked up by all the people wanting to buy them, so they get scarce. So I wanted to be ahead of that crowd because I was like, because I don't even think it had hit the Facebook group yet.
No.
So I was like, oh. So,
no. Yeah. So first of all, I wanted to set the record straight on that. Second of all, we are 2 days away from seeing some of our hiker pals at the Friends of the Mountains of Sea Trail Gathering.
Yeah.
And we are excited to see some of our hiking friends we haven't seen in a long time. And one of those friends is in the chat right now. Celeste, what's happening, sister? We are going to see you in a couple days. You guys, we got a good amount of people in the chat tonight. And really, I don't think they're here for us. What do you think, Austin?
I am confident they're not here for us.
I don't think they're here for us. So I'm going to go back. We got Celeste. We got Monique in. She says she's been listening for a while and she's glad to catch us live tonight. Of course, we have Stella, the secret Stella. Brian, fellow charlatan. Hey, Brian, what is happening? Oh, Brian, you're going to be at the gathering. Awesome. So we will definitely, Brian and I only connect when we're outside of Charlotte, but we actually both live in Charlotte. Cicada Appreciation Society, good to see you again. Carissa, always good to see you. Mike DiCello. So you guys, we got a good crowd in here. Ian, what is happening? Oh, is my sister in here?
Yeah.
Oh, there she is. She's a moderator, so she thinks she has a job when she shows up.
We're not famous enough to get trolls just yet.
No.
So
No. If there are any trolls tonight, Terry is going to zap you. That's what's going to happen. So let's see. Tiffany Smith, hello from Chattanooga, Tennessee. What's happening, Tiffany? Sharon McCarthy, fellow MST hiker. And I think you're going to go hiking with Nancy this summer. I mean, a little birdie told me. I'm not sure. So yeah. Oh, I see my sister in here. So we got a nice crowd in the chat tonight. You guys, here in just seconds, we are going to bring our guest on and we have some surprises for her this evening. Oh my gosh, you guys, my dad is on. Everybody give a thumbs up for Jester Sr. He's on tonight. Okay. When Jester Sr. comes on, I mean, this is a big deal. So, Austin, I think you're going to introduce our guest.
Yeah.
Should we go ahead and do that now?
I'm just going to do it now, and I'm going to read directly from her book. So this is out of Nancy East's book, Chasing the Smokies Moon. So if you have not picked up a copy, go to your local bookstore and pick up a copy. It's an amazing read because, first off, I'm not really a book reader. I know my high school English teacher is reaching through the screen at me right now, but the book is actually a really great read, easy read. It's
big print. I mean, that was big for me. I'm like, this is
Right,
gotta be. If it ain't big print, I'm not reading it.
But anyways, without further ado, here's Nancy's bio. So Nancy East, an avid hiker and backpacker, is a firm believer that you're never too old to be what you might have been. After a 23-year career as a small animal veterinarian, she retired to pursue her passion as a writer, hiking guide, and speaker. She's a member of the Haywood County Search and Rescue Team, a founding board member of the Western North Carolina Wilderness Safety Fund, a Gossamer Gear ambassador, and a Southern Appalachian naturalist. Nothing brings her more joy professionally than educating her fellow hikers about how to stay safe and found. In 2019, she and her good friend Chris Ford set the fastest known time for a mixed gender team on the Tour de LeConte Challenge. In 2020, they set the overall FKT for the Smokies 900 Challenge. Nancy has hiked all the trails in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park 4 times. Let me just read that again. Nancy has hiked all the trails in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park 4 times. That's insane. And she continues to go back for more. When she's not on the trail, Nancy is a mother to 3 children and a wife to her high school sweetheart. They live with their beloved dog in the mountains of Western North Carolina. And you can visit her at nancyeast.com. And so without further ado, here is our lovely guest for the evening, Miss
Hey,
Nancy
Nancy.
East.
Hey.
How are
How
you?
are you guys? I'm good. Wow, that was quite the introduction. Thank you.
Nancy, you're being really shy right now. We were just laughing and cracking up and all kinds of stuff. So
I'll loosen up. No, I'm worried. What kind of stuff you've got on me that we were talking about earlier? We're like scrolling through my memory bank. What pictures from my 20s? Because that's probably the era it would be from.
nope.
We feed off of the anxiety, Nancy. So just
Yes,
keep
we
going.
do. So, and we already have Celeste says, "Hey, Nancy."
Hey, Celeste. And Sharon, too. Sharon McCarthy. If you're still in
Yeah.
here, so fun to hear you. That you're present.
Yes, and you guys, if you have questions for Nancy, go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll ask her as they come in and as we go along. And typically on the Beyond the Trail podcast, this is the point where I pull up this screen, you guys, and Austin shows up. Look, there he is.
Look at that.
Look at that thing.
Look at that.
So pretty.
It's so pretty. And you guys, it's still true. hikermetals.com. You can still get the 20% off discount by using the code Jester in all caps. And but we're going to switch it up this evening because the title of this episode was, we have a big surprise for Nancy. And we're going to unveil the title of our documentary. I can't say that word right. Our doc is what I'm going to say. That we are filming with you, but I can't even explain what it was when I opened this. It actually saw this. So I actually think this is the first seen medal. This is actual live medal.
Wow.
Okay, this is
Wow.
the actual medal, you guys, that we've been talking about.
But wait,
I mean,
there's more.
The intricacies on this medal. I know, lean in, Nancy. You really got to see this. Okay?
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. But it's not mine. It's Nancy's.
Oh, you guys.
And on the back, I don't know if you guys could read this. On the back, it says, I don't know if you could read this. If not, I'll
You
read
may
it
have
out
to
loud.
read it.
It's
Yeah, I can't
engraved.
read it.
The name, Nancy East. It says Nancy East, fastest known time, Great Smoky Mountains National Park 900, and in parentheses it has North Carolina and Tennessee. And it has, oh my gosh, I can't even read this. It has 29 days, 10 hours, 12 minutes, 0 seconds, 10/3/2020. And Nancy, you are the first recipient of the Smokies 900 Miler Medal. And it gets better. Oh, you guys, this ribbon, oh my God, Nancy, this ribbon, it's got the detail and the intricacies of the actual medal. And wait. I didn't open this one. Okay, so I opened your medal. I'm sorry. Don't give me hate in the chat, everybody. Don't give me hate. Don't give me hate.
Oh,
so,
you guys, that was so sweet.
There's a second medal. And the second medal, I haven't opened it yet. This is Chris's medal.
Oh my God.
Since you guys did the record together. And I cannot claim this. This was Wim at Hiker Medals.
Yeah. I was going to say, Wim deserves the credit on all of this.
Yeah.
He has been amazing throughout this whole thing.
And I will say one more thing. Wim has a beautiful note, and I'm going to leave that. I'm not going to read it. It's a personal note. But he does have business cards, you guys. And one of the things that Hiker Medals does is they donate proceeds every year. So if you buy an Appalachian Trail medal, 10% of the proceeds go to the Appalachian Trail. PCT medal, Colorado Trail medal, and 10% of the proceeds of the Smokies 900 Miler medal are going to go to Nancy's Western North Carolina Wilderness Fund. And Wim wanted me to let you know he has had new cards printed, but they haven't come in yet. And it's actually going to have your logo of the Western North Carolina Wilderness Fund that go on all of the cards. So there you go.
Wow.
And what we need everybody to do is honestly go to hikermedals.com. You'll get 20% off your order. There's 45 or 46 medals. He's releasing new medals every day. We want you to buy the Smokies 900 Miler one, whether you've been through the Smokies or not. And so that's the surprise. So I will be bringing this next week, and it's yours. And you and Chris have the first two.
That is so, so generous and kind. And I'm not surprised at all, because that's just the kind of guy that he is. So that just means so much. I mean, I don't want to talk about too much because I get choked up. It doesn't.
No, don't talk about it. We want you to get choked up.
No, that was, so thoughtful. I know when I see it in person, that's when the tears will probably, start to fall. So thank you. That means more than you ever know. I have this wall behind me. I don't know if you can tell. These are just pictures and things that I framed that mean something, but I think I already know where I'm going to put it over there amongst the other stuff that is sacred to me. So Awesome. It deserves a really special spot. So thank you.
Well, I will make sure. I was like nervous. I didn't want to, I'm opening it like I didn't want to tear the wrapper. Like I want you to have it all. So, but that was the big surprise. And
Thank you.
Yeah. So Wim, didn't he say, Austin, this is the longest one? This medal took him the longest.
Yes. And it had to do with all of the different levels. He showed us like the file that he sends to the company who actually makes the medals themselves. So he showed us like the raw file and all the different color codes for all the different levels and beveling and everything like that. And it was unbelievable, the detail that he went through to create it. Just a work of art, honestly.
It is. I saw somebody, I think he posted it on his Hiker Medal Facebook page, maybe is where I saw it, where somebody had a tattoo put on their body.
Yes.
Okay. There you go, Nancy.
That's not a compliment.
I mean, you've done it 4 times. Why wouldn't you?
Right?
She's like,
Don't think the thought didn't cross my mind.
So listen, it's everything that we're doing is, to raise funds, and that's what it's about. And that's why Wim, is joining us, and Wim is actually going to be on the next episode, in May. So you guys will get to hear more from him. But okay, so Austin has approved this, but he said I was not mean. What did you say, Austin? I was
dirty.
I was dirty for doing this, but One of the hardest things to do on a podcast, especially a live podcast, is kind of kick things off and get things started and get everybody talking and having fun. So
an icebreaker, if you will.
Yes. Yes.
An icebreaker.
Yes. I told Austin I was going to mix things up, and he sent me like an animal mixing a record. So we're mixing things up. I'm getting better at ECAB. This is why. So this is I don't know if I'm going to call it a segment or what we're going to call this. And the chat is telling you to be afraid, Nancy.
Oh, great. Maybe I should turn away and just not face it.
So I'm getting ready to flip the screen, and we're just going to call this "What's Up with This Picture?" Okay.
All right, I'm ready.
And the idea behind this is I'm going to turn the screen and a particular picture is going to pop up. By the way, that I found on Google, and, Austin and I talked about there's 2.1 billion people a day, on YouTube and searching. So, I mean, this is open to the world. So
anticipation is killing me.
All right. So there's 3 pictures. This is picture number 1. So this will help us get to know you a little bit better. So this is what is up with this picture. Okay. You have to explain it, Nancy.
All right. So that was during the Smokies FKT. That's Mount Camerer, if anybody doesn't recognize one of the iconic fire towers in the Smokies. And we didn't start this initially. About, I'd say, a week into the FKT, we started thinking of a picture to correspond with every day, and we try to get creative with it. So, we've got a Roaring Twenties picture. We've got, I think day 21 was legal drinking age, so we're both holding a beer. Well, this was day 13 because day 13
awesome
corresponds mostly to when you become a teenager. So having 3 teens myself, I'm well versed in the disgruntled just attitude, especially when they're beginning this stage of teenagehood because, they're just so conflicted with all these emotions and hormones. And so we came up with this idea to act like 2 just pissed off teenagers. And Chris is making some kind of a modified gangster symbol. And somebody told him he should just be doing 2 fingers or something. I don't know. We didn't know what to do. But clearly, my 1 finger is pretty self-explanatory.
So listen, I was at school when I found these pictures. And, it's not a good day if I don't get flipped off before 7 a.m. in the morning. So this was very, very appropriate.
Right. You know this stage of life too well. So yeah, that was where that picture came from. But
I was like, Nancy is a gangster.
Now that I know the story, I love this picture.
Yeah, I couldn't even keep a straight face because I was laughing so hard the whole time trying to make it. So yeah, that's one of our favorites. I wish I could have put it in the book, but I wanted my book to be in the park visitor centers too badly, and I knew they would probably say no.
Yeah, you don't want that in the book.
No,
you have the PG version of Chasing the Smokies Moon over here.
Exactly.
Well, you can Photoshop your finger out, and it would look like you were like this.
True.
All right, you ready for picture number 2? This was not as bad, but this is a picture.
We're doing
okay. This is a picture coming up that I don't think a lot of people know that you've done this.
Oh, that's a fun one. Yeah, you could have pulled up better dirt than this.
I was trying to be nice. I'm not that mean.
No, I know. No, this was during the Tour de LeConte. That was our 3rd summit of the mountain, and we were about to head back down. Oh, what trail? Brushy Creek or Brushy Mountain Trail. I can't remember the name of it. But my best friend from Waynesville met us up on the mountain. She hiked all the way up in that nasty weather. You can't tell in that picture, but the weather really went south that day. It was rainy, cold, foggy, just yucky. And she sat up there forever waiting for us because she had no idea what time we were going to make that 3rd summit. And she had that sign for us, and she was just screaming, and she's just very animated anyway and hilarious. And so it was just like the perfect jolt of energy that we both needed before we made that final leg down the mountain. And it just blew me away that she came all the way up there and then had to hike back down, probably in the dark by that time. So that's where that one came from. That's a really sentimental picture to me. That one did make it to the book.
Excellent. And you guys do still, I guess, own the fastest known time, not as a couple. I forget the terminology they use.
The mixed gender
mixed
pair.
gender.
Oh
Mixed
yeah,
gender.
mixed gender.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, mixed gender.
Yeah,
There you go.
no, it's all the same terminology, but
I
yeah, so we
know.
still have that one. I had the female one for about a year, and then this just amazing ultra runner from Atlanta who I just adore. Like we've gotten to know each other through social media now, but she crushed my time because she ran it. So, and she's even beat her own time. So I love Ashley, and I'm glad that she just keeps crushing her own records.
Awesome. All right. Now picture number 3. Okay. This will lead into everything we're going to talk about.
All right.
Oh.
Aw.
Oh,
That you guys have picked some really sentimental pictures. These are good. So that is a search. I believe it was last winter, so 2022. We had this big snowpocalypse kind of event that people knew locally was going to happen, but this poor guy from the Raleigh area actually, who had come over to hike or backpack rather the Art Loeb Trail, did not know that this was coming, and he was not equipped. He's not in the picture. Everybody thinks he's the guy in the gray jacket. That's actually a guy on our team who just didn't have his team jacket that day. But he did the right thing. He called 911 and said, I am, going to be in over my head literally if I don't get off this mountain. I don't have the right gear. I'm cold. I'm wet. Help. And so we were really excited because it's kind of like you get the keys to the kingdom when the parkway's closed and you get to go up on a search like this. And this was, we knew this guy was going to be okay. He was going to be able to walk out with us. So it's actually a lot of fun. But we went in on snowshoes, and that picture actually wound up on the Washington Post
Oh, wow.
online on the front page of the Washington Post website. And I think the only reason it did is because they couldn't believe that we got that kind of snow in the South and that we knew how to use snowshoes on a SAR team. So that was a selfie that I just took. I said, everybody look real quick and smile because I wanted to use it for social media. And then all these
awesome.
media outlets picked it up. This went all over the country. It's probably why that one popped up when you Google anything that relates to our team or me, because that one went everywhere. It was crazy, but it was
Yeah,
fun.
that would popped up real quick. So, oops, not back to me in Austin. Sorry about that. See, I thought I was good at ECAB, and look what happened. So that was a little icebreaker for people to get to know you a little bit. And I guess at this point, I think Austin would agree. You got to be under a rock to not know who Nancy is, especially if you live on the East Coast. You got
for sure.
I don't know about that. Infamous, maybe.
So part of what we want to do tonight is the title of our podcast is Beyond the Trail. And a couple episodes ago, I don't know if it was our first episode or our second episode, I made a comment that you embodied what we wanted to achieve with having guests on this show. So it's only fitting that you're actually our first guest. People don't have to listen to Austin and I anymore. But you took a step beyond the trail, and Austin actually read that, and you left your life as a veterinarian and you stepped out, and you're now an author. You're a hiker educator. You have various educational avenues you work in, and you are way more than I could probably ramble on. And, most importantly, what we're going to be talking about this evening, you have taken a very strong interest in hiker safety education and have joined a SAR team. And I thought I was going to ask the question originally, like for you to explain all that to us. But I think people could get the idea that you left your career, to pursue something that you were passionate about. I think the question is, how has that been going?
Really, really well, more than I can even handle sometimes. I mean, it really, I keep thinking at some point, I'm just not going to get anybody that reaches out to say, do you want to freelance an article for, whatever this publication is, or be on this podcast, or entertain this book idea, or whatever. I mean, it's just, I'm blown away. I'm so humbled by it every single day because I just have imposter syndrome like nobody's business. And I think I have no formal training to do anything that I do right now, other than the training I've gotten through search and rescue, which, actually is formal training. But, interestingly, nobody ever asks me about dog safety on the trail. I think ironically, that's the one thing that I am trained to the hilt, to the nth degree to be able to answer questions. But I even forget sometimes that, I had this life that I took care of animals for a real long time. But yeah, it's going phenomenally well. It just keeps leading me down roads that I never dreamt that it would. And I just feel very fortunate, very, very blessed, I guess, if you, want to look at it that way.
So when did you actually step away from being a
From vet
veterinarian?
med, yeah, officially in 2020, when we went out,
Okay.
when Chris and I wanted to do the Smokies FKT, I knew something had to give. I'm the worst at biting off more than I should be able to chew. And my husband, is all the time saying, "Are you sure you need to add one more thing to your life?" And he keeps me in check. But I knew that I had to let that go in order to train, because I still, I've got these 3 kids and none of them were in college yet. It was hard to manage all of it. So I did have to just hang up my stethoscope, and I actually did not even renew my license, because I thought if I renew that license, I know I'll go back. I'll get too scared, and this leap of faith will just feel too daunting. So yeah, it was 2020 is when I officially quit working.
Wow. And now
At
you're
least
now
so
you're
far.
more busy than you could handle. And that's not that long.
Mm-mm. Yeah, no, it was 3 years, I guess now, almost 3 years that it happened. And I still work in some capacity. I mean, I don't have my license, so I can't, diagnose and treat and prescribe and all that. But I do some teaching at Blue Ridge Community College. They have kind of a wilderness medicine course for, say, EMS workers who want to learn more about search and rescue. And one of the things or the only thing that I teach is how to take care of an animal in the backcountry with basic first aid and that kind of care before they can get it out and get it to a vet. So that's been really fun. Just use my brain in a different way.
Excellent. And of course, you have your book. We've already mentioned that, Chasing the Smokies Moon. Um, we have a question I'm going to ask since you brought it up about dogs. Ian says, "What are your views on taking a dog on an AT through hike?" I think that's an interesting question.
That's a big question. Yeah, that's one that's hard to answer without knowing a lot about the dog. There are certain breeds that I would strongly discourage people from ever taking hiking, quite frankly. Um, they just are not built to be an athlete. And so a through hiking dog definitely takes a lot of special care, training, just a lot of things that go into it. But I'm happy to, if he wants to reach out to me behind the scenes, because it's probably more than we want to go into tonight, just without knowing more. I'm not opposed to it, though. I think with the right owner and the right dog, it can be done responsibly, and that's a controversial topic, because other vets would say you should never do that with a dog. But I know veterinarians who have through hiked long trails with their dogs successfully, and I can actually point him to some great podcasts with these vets. Well, actually, Jester, you've had somebody on your
Hmm.
podcast. I can't remember his name right now. He was excellent.
Vet
Um,
up in
Yeah,
Ohio, right?
he's up in
yeah,
Ohio, and yeah, so he works with like I guess it's called big game or big animals. I mean, he's out, birthing cows and all kinds of stuff. So Aaron Poshpissel, that's 2 episodes. I've got 2 really good episodes with him. I don't know
yeah,
the
those
numbers
are
off the top
excellent.
of my head, but yeah.
He's great. I learned stuff listening to him. I actually learned some things that I didn't, just remember or wasn't aware of. But there's another one that I can pull up and find somewhere, because I kept I archived them somewhere just because I thought I want to pull these up and people ask. They were so good. But yours are definitely in that list. But I'm happy to just give him some more, just intel that I can share with him behind the scenes if he wants to reach out.
Awesome. He says thank you.
NancyEast.com, Ian.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nancyeast.com. Wait a minute, at Gmail, or what is it?
No, that's the
Well,
website.
I could contact me somewhere on
Oh,
my
that's the
website.
website. I'm sorry. Duh.
Yeah. There's too many ways to get in touch with people these days. I can't keep up.
So we got another dog. It's all about the dogs.
Here we go. See,
We
now I've opened Pandora's
You've
box.
opened it up, Nancy. We might as well ask it because,
Right.
and then we're going to turn things over. I'm going to turn things over to Austin here in a second. What's something about basic dog safety on the trail many owners don't think about to consider?
Hmm. I would say probably the most common thing that I see is pushing a dog too hard who's not really capable yet of doing the hike that the owner expects them to be able to do. I mean, everybody thinks, I want my dog in the neighborhood. He runs around the yard. He's fit. He's trim and lean and all these things. But just like us, they have to build up with endurance. And so I see a lot of dogs out on trail that to me look like they're starting to struggle. And we all know dogs will follow us to the end of the earth if it's a dog that's bonded to us. And so sometimes dogs will push too far, and heat stroke, things like that can be a real risk, especially in the summer around here or anywhere. I mean, I come across that more than I'd like to. And And I would say, the big leash debate, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds with that,
Uh-oh,
but
here we go.
I'm,
This you're opening a can.
yeah, it could be a big can. So I don't even know why I brought it up, to be honest. It's probably not the best thing to bring up. I believe in leashing the dog when you have it on trail, unless you have just exceptionally good voice control, which most people don't. That takes a long time to get to that level with the dog. Because we see a lot of snake bites. In particular, that's something that I used to treat just frequently in the summer, warmer months, where dogs who were nosing around either in their yard, it wasn't always on a trail, but on a trail, they would get in trouble by, sniffing around, seeing a snake in the distance, running up to it, and usually, suffering from a bite on their muzzle is the more common place, or a lower limb. So yeah, that's probably the most common thing, though, is dogs not on leashes who end up, either getting in a fight with another dog or getting bit by a snake. Or I've even taken care of dogs who've been attacked by bears. I mean, that's more with hunting, bear hunters and that type of thing. But yeah, vaccines are a big thing. People, usually get their dogs vaccinated for the regular stuff that you think about, like rabies and distemper, parvo, the normal culprits. But leptospirosis is one that oftentimes is not offered in a veterinary practice unless we feel there's a need for it. But that's a bacteria that dogs can get on trail from drinking water that a wild animal has urinated in, and then they've excreted that lepto, and it's a deadly disease. It's an awful death, and I did see cases of it when I was in practice, and it was always heart-wrenching. It was they hardly ever have good outcomes. So just definitely ask your vet if you hike with your dog about lepto as a vaccine. And it may be that they're already getting it. Some vets just give it pretty standardly nowadays, but some still, use it up to the discretion of the owner to decide based on the need.
I never even
Wow.
heard of that. So there you go. Hiker safety for your dog. New series coming from Nancy East to Facebook soon.
Yeah.
There
So
you go.
obviously you've demonstrated you've got some veterinary knowledge. And you mentioned your leap of faith, back in 2020, but you and your family are not new. You're not strangers to Western North Carolina. You've been there for a while. And so I'm curious, like, you love the outdoors, you love the mountains. What got you transitioning into that education on hiker safety? Like, because obviously that's a passion. It's clear to me that educating people about hiker safety, about dog safety, is a passion for you. So was there a point where you started seeing that or were drawn to that?
Yeah, I would say certainly the impetus for all of it was search and rescue. It didn't come just automatically, though. It was one of these things that evolved. The more and more I was exposed to ways that people needed our help, the more I thought, I want to learn how to teach people to not need our help, because most of the things that we see are preventable and people just don't know what they don't know, me included sometimes, before I joined our team. I mean, that's what's funny to me as I look back on the way I hiked pre-2015, and it's just lucky that I never needed a SAR team's help, because I didn't do things always the correct way. I didn't always carry every 10 essential. I didn't always leave an itinerary with my husband before I walked out the door, because I just didn't think about, well, what would happen if I didn't have the power to come out of the woods on my own, because I hike so much solo. So I'm certainly a little bit higher risk just by that. But that was certainly the catalyst, and it kind of grew by leaps and bounds once I was involved with a couple of fatalities as far as search and rescue. One in particular, which the book's about, Susan Clements, because that one was just so 100% preventable had she known just a couple of really simple things that she could have done that would have spared her life. Undoubtedly, she would have been found probably shaken up and hypothermic, but not dead like she was found. So that was definitely the big jump in 2018 is when that one happened.
And you were a part of that rescue.
Yeah, our team
Yeah.
was called in. Yeah, there's oftentimes, like Haywood County, we have so many public lands here, so much public land, Shining Arc Wilderness, Middle Prong, Art Lobe Trail, it's just a mecca for outdoor recreation. But the park, we also respond to calls in occasionally. If it's in Haywood County, oftentimes they'll call us before they even send the Park Service search and rescue in, because it's quicker for us to get to places like Big Creek and Cataloochee Valley. Our team, and this is one that's public knowledge now, people can find it on the news, there's a missing man in the Deep Creek area. So there's about 9 people from our team going tomorrow morning to assist with that particular search.
Wow.
But yeah, so we were involved in that search for Susan because it was a massive effort. Since it lasted a week, there were agencies all over the Southeast that responded to that one. It was enormous.
That is insane.
Wow.
So that was put out. There's a gentleman missing right now.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It's yeah, if you just Google Deep Creek missing man, it'll come up because I saw it just before I jumped on with you guys. I already knew it was in motion because we got a call out, saying who can come out tomorrow and help. Unfortunately, I can't because I've got to work tomorrow, but with an obligation that I can't get out of. But anyway, yeah. So he's missing, and I
Yeah.
have no idea other than what you can read on the press release online. Which is not much, unfortunately.
Yeah. So Brian asked, how wide is the territory that you do search in?
Like wide as in one specific search or everything?
I would say like your team. How wide is the territory?
Like the geographic area
Well,
you're responsible for.
Yeah.
gotcha. Yeah, pretty much Haywood County. I mean, that's home ground for us. So anything in Haywood County starts, with our team and our emergency services. But then again, the part of the park is Haywood County. And so like Big Creek and Cataloochee areas specifically, those, again, it's not always. The Park Service can certainly respond if they want to instead of us, because that is a kind of its own little domain. But oftentimes they will call on us, and just knowing that we can get there quicker and knowing that we'll, hopefully figure it all out by the time the Park Service gets there and on the scene with their team. But yeah, I don't know how big Haywood County is. I mean, it's huge in terms of public land. Like if you looked at a map and how they shade maps from an aerial view in green where there's public land and national forest, that kind of thing, we have a lot. I can't remember how many acres it is, but it's a lot. There's some statistics that people throw out there. I wish my team lead Mike Street was on because he'd be able to throw out all these fun facts that every time he says them, I just like, wow, yeah, no wonder we're so busy because we have a lot of public land, but it's quite a bit.
That was one of the things. For those that weren't there, Julie and I had the opportunity to sit down with Nancy and Mike a couple of months ago during our first meeting. And that was one of the things that struck me was Mike was talking about Haywood County itself and the proportion of, this is kind of where we are going to segue, but the proportion of residents of Haywood County, the people that actually pay taxes, versus the geographic area. So how huge it is, and then how many people actually come into Haywood County. A lot of the people that you come into contact with as a search and rescue team member may not be county residents. They're visitors from the park or the Shining Rock or wherever. And I just thought that was interesting. And so I guess I'll talk about our project. Have we reached that point, Jester? I know you're
Yeah, I
kind
think
of
so.
the MC.
I think the audience now watching is not in any question whatsoever why we approached Nancy of doing our next film, because we're both, one of our I don't even know if it's a passion. I mean, hiker safety is a thing. It should be a thing like Leave No Trace. And I don't know how we do that. And part of, what we want to do is to continue to spread the word. And so I floated the idea to Austin. I was like, I think we need to chat with Nancy East. And Austin was like, absolutely 100%. So
That's usually what I say when Jester floats an idea.
And if Celeste is still on here, Celeste was with us when we first floated you the idea. We were at a local restaurant brewery in Waynesville, I guess. And Nancy, the audience has heard our perspective. They want to hear your perspective. So we're doing this film. It's about hiker safety and education. We're featuring you and the Haywood County Search and Rescue Team, and they want to hear your thoughts. So what were your initial thoughts?
Gosh, intimidated, like, why in the world? It just like, I mean, I was so honored. I mean, definitely honored, but it was intimidating thinking to be on film, be on camera. Despite the fact that I put myself in this public arena every day now, is not my comfort zone. That's the one part of my job I've had to really get used to, is being, a public presence in this way. And so to think about, seeing myself in this documentary format, it was daunting. I thought, why me? Go ask somebody else. There's so many good people to ask. But
No,
I had to soften up and warm up to the idea for sure. As I didn't answer right away by any means.
no, I think that day when we were having drinks and stuff, you were like, "Oh, yeah, that sounds great."
Yeah.
Nancy's like, yeah, sure, that sounds great.
Oh, well, yeah, call me maybe.
Yeah, exactly. No, honestly, I thought she'll forget. We got a beer, so it sounds good at the time. Julie's never going to remember this, and of course you did.
No,
But
Julie remembers everything.
and I
Trust
knew
me.
just from our team's perspective too. I thought our team, in general, the reason we do this. I mean, there's lots of reasons we like to do search and rescue, but the one thing that none of us like, pretty much across the board, is being in that spotlight for it. We just, I mean, quite frankly, at the end of a search, we just want to go home and have a hot shower and go get some sleep. It's never that we want to be on the news and to have our 5 minutes of fame. That's definitely not what this is about. It wouldn't be worth it if it was. I mean, it's just, you put so much of your life and emotional energy into it. But so I had to soften up to the idea in a big, big way. It took a long time, I think, for me to come around and feel good about it. And of course, now I'm all in. I mean, it's like a 180, and I'm so excited.
Just a 180, not a 360 yet.
Or 363. Well, 360 would I be back where I started?
Yeah, you would. No, you're right. It is a 180. I need to go back to math class.
Yeah.
It's science.
Whatever it is, it's the opposite.
So one of the things Austin and I, we were so impacted. So we started filming in February, and what I thought we were going to do is really not what we ended up doing, like all the way. It became so much more and so much bigger, and Austin could talk about it more, because even when we were at your house, we would have like side conversations like, wow, this is like a thing. So Austin.
Yeah. And so I feel like we need to have Nancy talk about the title.
Yeah, we will.
So yeah, the premise is or the topic is hiker safety for this film. And so we met with Nancy in February, and of course she lined up some folks from the team for us to talk to. And what struck me was, Nancy, you're talking about avoiding the limelight. There were people that, good folks, have nothing against us, but they're like, I'm not going to be on camera. And I'm totally good with that, because what I do professionally, I completely get. But it made me respect them even more. That y'all do these. You literally save people's lives, and give their family members their family back, who they think is lost, and to just obviously it's a calling, and that's what I walked away with, was just this calling that everyone, because Nancy, you got the privilege to get to listen to what other people said, but not everybody else did. But what I thought was cool was everybody kind of said the same thing in their own way about this calling to search and rescue, this calling to help people. And it was just the gravity of the undertaking that we're all, and I include you in this, Nancy, because you're part of this team. Like, the gravity of what we're trying to do hit me when we were sitting there. And it was just overwhelming and humbling. Honestly, I was humbled standing there, making sure the camera exposure was correct, because I was like, I don't want to screw this up. But it's been such an amazing opportunity. And I'm humbled to be a part of it. And I'm humbled about the things that we might be able to do with it. So I'm publicly thanking you. I know Jester feels the same way.
Yeah.
But yeah, walking away from those 2 days of filming was just like, I just kind of did a nice deep breath. I was just like, okay, we can do this.
Yeah.
We can do this.
No, and honestly, that's how I felt too. That's when the tide turned for me as well. And I thought, this is going to be really special because, yeah, hearing some of those people speak, I knew generally what they would probably say, but to hear
Yeah.
that all come out of their mouths in their own words and their own emotions attached, because I mean, we just don't talk about that stuff as teammates, when we get together for a beer or a Christmas party or whatever. I mean, we just don't get all touchy feely with it. I mean, it's largely a bunch of dudes on our team, so that's probably part of it. If it was all women, it might be different. But yeah, I mean, it was really special for me too, and that's when I realized, quite frankly, that this is pretty profound what we're up to with this project. So thank you guys for putting so much heart and soul into it, because the hours that you have put in, I know, aside from just coming all the way across the state practically to do all this, it's enormous. So I'm just excited about you guys being a part of it as much as anything, because I know how much you take it to heart too, and that's pretty special.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a passion for us too, because Julie and I are both hikers. We started as hikers. That's, this whole thing, Beyond the Trail podcast, this is our Beyond the Trail. But at the beginning of this, we just liked getting out on trail and hiking. So the purpose behind it all is very, very fundamental for both of us. So,
and it really doesn't seem like work. I know it's a lot of work, but it really doesn't seem that way. But I guess we should, we have saved this because Austin has almost told the name like a couple times.
It leaks out.
And I don't know when this happened, but I think we reached out to you and said, would you mind if we titled the film the title? And you were like,
because it's your phrase. Yeah. It's not our phrase.
Just say it. Brian says, just say it. All right, Nancy, it's up to you.
Drum roll, right?
So wait, I should do some, I could do some. Oh no, that's an applause. I'll do that after you say it. Okay, go.
Jester's just flexing.
Yeah. So the name of the film, it's kind of a buzz phrase that I'm sure it's not unique to me, but it's something that I say all the time with all my presentations, because there's so many double meanings to it. But the name is Safe and Found.
1 minute. There you go. Yes, Safe and Found. So now we can say it. It is public, and it makes sense. I mean, it seems simple's not the right word, but
it's simple.
Yeah, it's impactful. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of meaning behind it.
What was that?
I said there's a lot of meaning behind it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because my husband and I were talking about it one night, and I told him how I interpret it. And he said, "Oh, well, I've always kind of thought of it as this." And so, yeah, there's a couple of different ways that you can interpret it, which I think is kind of cool too. But yeah, I think it's the perfect name.
So we got some claps in the chat. We got a yay, great title. We got nice play on words, but great meaning. So exactly what you just said. It could have, multiple different meanings to different people. And I'm excited. And we're going to see you again next week.
Hang on. We've got one thing that are we done talking about the film? Because there's one thing I've got to talk about with Nancy.
Wait a minute. What is there? Do I have a button for that? Wait a minute. Okay, Austin, go.
All right. So let's rewind to the beginning of April. And I'm gonna get. I guess I'll tell the story from my perspective. So the context here is, we had done our 2 days of filming in Waynesville and gotten some interviews with Nancy and some of the other folks. And so I'm scrolling through Facebook on April 1st, and of course there's all of this, stuff going on, the typical Facebook nonsense that you see on April 1st. And some of it's pretty funny, and some of it's obviously a joke. But I wasn't even in that mindset. And I scrolled in and I see this super long post from Nancy. I'm like, huh. So I'm scrolling through, and it's the Reader's Digest version is Nancy talks first person. I went out on this hike, and I left my Garmin inReach. in my bag because I had just done a presentation, which is totally believable because Nancy, you're all over the place with giving talks and everything like that. And she was, you're going to go out on a hike, and so you give your husband the plans. You get up there, the plans change. You send him a text, hey, I'm changing my plans, but little did I know the text never went through. And then so you go through, you get out there, you get hurt, and then you've got to spend the night out in the woods and wait for your team to come get you. And all I'm thinking is, I was like, I cannot wait to get her in front of a camera and talk about this, because I was like, this footage is gonna be gold. Like, I was so pumped about this interview. I know, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And
I was getting ready to get in the car and drive to Waynesville. I was like, what is happening?
And then you get towards the bottom and you're like, and if you've read this far, then you're blah, 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 April Fools. And I was like, oh, I totally bit hook, line, and sinker on that.
You nabbed me.
All right. That was a good one. That was a good one.
I got a lot of people with that one. Yeah.
All right. So you got to explain it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you just did a great synopsis of the whole thing. I mean, so much of it was true in terms of things that either I could totally see myself doing. I'm so impatient. So the part of the story was, my plans changed because I saw this prescribed burn notice in the area where I was going to go hike. That was true. So I did have to change my plans. And so I did sit there on the parkway and texted Larry and said, I'm not going to be able to hike whatever the loop was. I'm about to go here instead. But I kept having trouble getting the text go through. And this is where totally me comes into the story, because I almost just gave up and thought, I know this loop, it'll be fine. But I thought, no, what kind of idiot, would I be doing the very thing that I teach people never to do? Like the one rule that I say, don't walk away from this presentation without sealing this part in your brain. Somebody needs to know where you are when you go hike. So I did let the text finally went through. But in the story, of course, it didn't. I thought it did, and it didn't. And then I had some injuries from a recent search and rescue call out that were really true, not bad injuries. It was just some bruising from an all-night crazy search. And so that played into it. Yeah. So, I mean, the whole point of the April Fools, well, first, my grandmother was a master April foolery type person. She got my mom every single year.
You got some of that DNA.
Yeah. So it comes naturally. Usually, though, Larry, my husband, gets me. I can't believe it. Every year, it's brilliant. He gets me with these crazy schemes he comes up with months in advance. And every time I'm on guard, and I know it's coming.
Awesome.
And I still fall for it because it's so believable. But anyway, I thought I've got to get somebody else because I knew I couldn't get Larry. And so, so I wanted to do this, but it was all in the name of education. I thought at the end of this story, even though, yes, I really do want to fool people, and I was so excited that I did, I wanted also people to walk away oh, okay. Leave that itinerary. Make sure somebody knows where it is. If my plans change, I better tell somebody at home because this could have happened. Because it all was very plausible. None of it felt, just too out in left field for something that I specifically would totally do, and other people that we've seen and rescued, things that they end up doing in their situations that are not exactly the same, but similar. So, I know, sadly, I think that it did rub, I know, one person wrong, and they thought it was a little distasteful for me to put it out there. And I do apologize. I don't think that person's probably in the chat, but she made a comment on my Facebook post, and then she took it down later. And, it was a little weird. I thought, gosh, I didn't mean to be disrespectful to anybody, any of those things. But, it really was all in the name of education, ultimately, and just good fun. I just thought I want to have a little fun with this because nothing did happen. Thankfully, it was all nothing. None of this ever happened. And to me,
I think it was, yeah. I mean, it was a genius move because one, it was just awesome. I like to think that I'm hard to get, and so you got me good. But it generated conversation about hiker safety, and it was a amazing teaching tool just to talk about, instead of just leave a plan, make sure you 10 essentials, all the stuff that we always talk about. It was just another way to talk about that stuff and get people to actually listen and stay engaged throughout the entire post. Because then you illustrated, okay, well, this is a completely plausible scenario. these are the things that I did, even though I'm speaking from your perspective, but I'm a experienced hiker. I do this stuff all the time, and yet it still even happened to me. And for me, I internalized that. I was like, yeah, I mean, because I like to think I've been around the block a few times on trails, but it still gave me pause. Be like, yeah, there's things that I can do better. And so I thought it was just a masterful move to get people talking about hiker safety. And not even really know that's what they were doing. I just thought it was great.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bravo.
Well, thank you.
I mean, I was
yeah.
like, oh my God, what's happened to her? I was like, oh my God, if something's happened to her, what will happen? I'm no longer a good hiker. If something happens, it automatically made, and I know it, and you could tell people in the comments that didn't read all the way to the bottom.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
I was looking at it like every other, once an hour to see what people were saying, because I was like, oh man, she nailed it.
Yeah, no, it was fun for sure. And, I do want to say this too, that I am certainly not immune from making bad decisions. Again, like the whole scenario that I came up with, I thought this is exactly the kind of bonehead moves that I would personally make and get myself in trouble, even though I know better. Most people that we help just don't know what they don't know. But I still sometimes will, do things that I think, I probably should have done that a little differently. I mean, I was on the Palmetto Trail a couple winters ago and went through this massive flood zone where I truly could have been swept away. And I probably just, not probably, I should have turned around just because I knew this is not safe. But just, I thought that, other people, nobody had told me that this area could be this flooded. And I thought, well, nobody ever mentioned this, so I guess I can walk through it. And it was a stupid move. It was an impulsive move. And I just wanted to keep going and not have to detour around this massive area. And, anyway, so I guess the point is, just because I'm on search and rescue, just because I even teach these things, I am certainly not immune to being human and making a choice that I might one day regret too. I think that's true for any of us. So,
Absolutely.
I hope nobody thinks that it was like this self-righteous move. Of course, I didn't make that decision. I would never do that.
Oh no.
Yeah. Anyway, so I got a little self-conscious clearly after somebody wasn't.
Well, the
real
thing
pleased.
is, if they did, they still had to think about hiker safety. So
Yes.
True. Yep, that's true. Yeah, no, that was the whole point. And I loved the conversation. Yeah, because I'd considered taking the post down. I thought maybe I'll just take it down if it rubs people wrong. But I thought, no, I want people to see this and to read through it and, yeah, learn from it. So clearly,
I know,
that's what happened.
I know it helped. I know it helped multiple people. Ian's got a question for you, Nancy, about a wilderness first aid course.
Okay.
Did you, let's see, did you have to take the wilderness first aid course with NOLS before you started to do the search and rescue? I guess before you joined the team, like what were, I guess, some of the qualifications you had to have before you joined the
I did
team?
not. I'm trying to think what we have to have as a bare minimum on our team. CPR, certainly, we have to, research for that. And then like wilderness first aid. But I don't even know if wilderness first aid, honestly, is something that we have to have, all of us. I have my woofer, my wilderness first responder, but I paid for that out of pocket. I wanted to take it to that next level. And that was because I do, some guiding as well. So I thought if I'm guiding somebody out in the woods and they have some kind of an incident of whatever, an injury or heart condition or whatever, I want to know how to help them to the fullest extent. But yeah, every team's different. If he's asking in light of wanting to know for just his own, potential involvement with search and rescue, I would just reach out to your rescue squad initially and see what type of, or your sheriff's department in your county, and see what type of team your county has, and then what qualifications you would need for that. Because every team is so different. It's hard to counsel anybody on what you would need before joining an individual team, if that makes sense.
And I guess the follow-up question was any feedback. I don't know if you've been through the wilderness first aid course, but any feedback, thoughts on that course? I mean, because you mentioned it may not actually be a requirement, but is that something that is good for your everyday hiker, or who is that?
Oh, yeah.
Who's that intended audience?
Yeah, definitely. If people can get a weekend off and afford to take that course. The wilderness first aid is kind of the basic level. It's just a weekend course. And then woofer, the wilderness first responder, that's a whole week and much more expensive. So, and it's overkill. Most people don't need to have a woofer. I mean, it goes into rescue. I mean, it's much more robust than just medicine. So it goes into a lot of, the techniques of carrying somebody out of the woods and that type of stuff. So it's more than most people need. But wilderness first aid, on the other hand, I think, yes, anybody who hikes regularly could benefit from that. And it's just a weekend's worth of your time. There are some online classes now. There's one, I just heard a podcast about it, and I can't remember the name of the company, but it's actually an MD, a wilderness medicine MD, who started it. And it's the first one in an online arena that actually feels like it holds promise, just because of the way that she has structured it. But I still think if you can do in person, that's always going to be more advantageous, just because you do one-on-one scenarios and you help, or you practice splinting, you practice doing all these different techniques on an actual human versus watching a computer screen and learning that way. But again, that one, I can send it to you guys if you want to put it like in the notes of the podcast.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah,
because it's much more affordable, for some people, and time. People have time constraints; they have lives, and so that was my soapbox. I thought, nope, you got to do it in person. That's the only way people should take wilderness first aid. But I've kind of backed off a little bit because I thought that's not realistic for some people, and if it means they get the training, it may not be quite as robust as being in person, or what I think is a little bit more beneficial. It's still at least something. So yeah, I think it's a good program to plug into. But yeah, I can send it to you because I want to say it's survival med, but I'm not sure that's it or not, but I can find it.
Well,
awesome.
Nancy, in true Jester Austin fashion, an hour has gone by.
Oh, yeah. It has.
We never meet our time frame. Not that there's a time frame, but I think an hour is a good time frame. And you've answered a lot of questions. And there's no doubt in anybody's minds right now why we are all doing a film together. And we're excited. We're going to see you next week. And the title is Safe and Found. Stella wants to know when the film will be out. That is a great question.
In the future.
In the future. And Ian says, yeah, it went really quick. We have some goals. The beginning of 2024, we hope to premiere the film to the search and rescue team. And if they see anything wrong with it, we'll make changes.
Yeah.
And then, so our goal with this is to travel with the film as much as people will have us. So Nancy, get your bags ready.
Doing it, yes. Any opportunity for a road trip, I'm there on it.
Yeah, we're in. So I think we're at a good point. Austin, any parting words?
No. Nancy, just thank you so much for coming on tonight. And I'm pretty stoked about what we got going on. So Safe and Found 2024.
That's right. Nancy, any parting words? I'm sure you'll be back on, but any parting words for the evening?
Gosh, no, not that I can think of. I know probably people are like, you got to go to bed. It's late.
Yeah, it's 9 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in for people who are here. And it's always so weird not being able to see and know like who's in. So it was fun that you read out those names, and knowing a couple of them, that was really fun. So
and they're still here. So that is a good,
okay. Yeah.
And they're still here.
Thank
So
you guys.
Nancy,
you're doing.
Don't go anywhere. I'm going to flip the screen back here real quick so we could chat after we are done. Austin, I'm glad we're doing this.
Here we go.
We've been through a lot, and we're moving forward, and it's exciting. So again, everybody, we cannot thank you all enough for joining us this evening, and this is how we'll sign off, as we always do. Be safe out there, everybody. And Austin?
Good times.